Thanks for joining us this morning. We're back with Dr. E.G. Sherman and his book, Black Religiosity. Thanks for joining us this morning.
It's a pleasure to be here, and I thank you.
Well, we're glad to have you. What is your book about?
It is entitled Black Religiosity, and that is a study of the ideas, practices, and beliefs held within the African American community.
Why did you decide to write it?
Two experiences. One, when I was at Southern Illinois University working on my master's degree, my history professor said that slavery was very important to introduce African Americans to Christianity. I thought that was a little horrible. And when I went to the seminary, I was given the assignment to study African Americans in the New Testament. And through those two experiences, along with writing a course description for the Black Church, this book came forth.
Is there one main idea that you think is the most important that you write about in this book?
Yes, that religion is a conduit through which individuals, though in oppression, still manage to survive.
What do you mean by that?
Okay, that slavery was an inhumane experience for those who were enslaved. But through religion, they had what was called the underground church. They couldn't meet during the day, but they were able to survive because they believed in God. They worked during the day as slaves, and at night they worshiped in the backfield. So the most important thing is that even in contemporary society, individuals need something on which to rely, and we believe that religion, particularly Christianity, is that source.
When people read your book, what are some of the things that they'll learn?
Well, first of all, they'll learn that in the beginning, the nativity, one of the three wise men was a black man. His name was Balthasar. He came from Africa. It was he who gave the gold. A second thing they will learn is that Simeon was required to help Jesus carry the cross to Calvary. And thirdly, the Ethiopian eunuch was baptized. He went back to his home in Ethiopia. Later, Ethiopians came to New York and they organized what is called the Abyssinian Baptist Church. So that's a little history of how blacks were exposed to Christianity during the first century, although it doesn't come out in many history books.
Why do you think it's so important for people to know these things?
Well, two things. One reason it is important is for a person's general knowledge of Christianity to be expanded. And secondly, it is important for people to develop a racial pride.
All right, we're going to be back in just a moment with Dr. Sherman to learn more about his book. Stay with us. We are back with Dr. Sherman talking about his new book, Black Religiosity. And Dr. Sherman, you have a book signing on August 25th at Institutional First Baptist Church, which is on Slappy. What will be happening at your book signing?
Well, we're giving individuals an opportunity to interact with me as the author, but members of our church who will also be participating in the book signing. And we have light refreshments following the book signing.
Very nice. So people will be able to come and take a look at it and talk with you about everything.
Yes.
But there's really two main points that you would like everybody to know.
Okay, they are, number one, I'd like for people to realize that religion is very important. In fact, it serves as an anchor for a person or people during periods of crisis. For example, the Jewish people during the Holocaust. Look at that group earlier as it migrated from Egypt to Canaan. And look at the African Americans enduring slavery. But immediately after the close of slavery, they commenced a series of activities that included establishing churches, establishing schools, and establishing health agencies. Now, the health agencies consisted primarily of home remedies because they were not trained in medicine. But That is important. The second thing that is important is for individuals, irrespective of their racial identity, to develop a pride in their background.
Okay.
And that's what Black Religiosity is designed to do, to help us understand that although we may not have gotten off just as a colonist, but we have been able to be successful, and this is true for any people who will cling tenaciously to the religion.
And Dr. Sherman, just a wealth of information. You are a retired Albany State University professor, so congratulations on that. But now you are sharing some of the things that you taught in classes, including this book right here. But you actually have another book you're writing on a former class that you taught as well. Would you mind sharing what's in the works?
Okay, that book is entitled Beyond the Fear of Death. It's based upon my experiences as a teacher of thanatology, a big word which means death and dying. I taught that at Albany State University, and I'm about 1/3 finished with that particular book. It is entitled Beyond the Fear of Death.
And what is kind of the main topic that people will learn from that book?
Well, America has been what we call a death-denying society, unlike some of the Buddhists, for example. And we have gone through 3 quick stages. Well, they haven't really been so quick, but first there was what we call the reality of death during colonization. Secondly, there was the medicalization of death. That came after World War II. And now there is what we call the lingering of death, and this has given rise to the hospice movement. Okay. So we've gone through those 3 stages. But one paradox is that Christianity is the only religion that posits a life after death, and supposedly it would be a better life, but we as Christians seem to prefer this secular life rather than a spiritual reality.
Some really heavy topics, but you guys can go check them out, talk with them. I mean, just a wealth of information, though, and things that people need to think about, you know, that death is real and what's going to happen after you die. So there's lots of things that, you know, people try to push away, but they need to be addressed. And so we appreciate all the work that you've done and putting this together. August 25th is his book signing at Institutional First Baptist Church. That's on Slappy. And we hope that it's just a great success, and we look forward to hearing more about your future books.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to have been on your program this morning.
We're glad to have you. We're going to go on over to Chris.